Hello, students. Today we will learn about the classification of plant diseases. School Mountain Park entrance, there is such a piece of Mahonia. We can often see that the surface of its leaves seems to be covered with a layer of white flour. Comparing the normal Mahonia, it is not difficult to find that it is unhealthy. This is the Mahonia powdery mildew. Let's look again. Some of the leaves of the school cinnamon are also covered with a layer of black coal pollution all year round, which is not ordinary dust, but cinnamon soot disease. These are plant diseases, and obviously these plants are not growing normally. Does that mean that as long as the plant is not growing normally, it must be a plant disease? Let's look at the following examples. Bean sprouts are not unfamiliar to us. It is the germination of soybeans in the state of shading. Due to the lack of light during the germination process, it cannot synthesize chlorophyll, and its appearance changes to this state. But at the same time, its cellulose content is also less, so it feels tender and not easy to get stuck between your teeth, and is widely eaten by people. Corn is also very familiar. It is a common coarse grain in life. Normal corn is not rare. What is rare is this kind of corn. Have you seen? In my country, if corn grew like this, it would be despised and discarded. But in Mexico, they also cultivate such corn specifically as a delicacy, known as the corn truffle. It is also eaten in a variety of ways: fried, stir-fried, make soup, and even canned. Let's look at these two plants. Every new year we'll listen to people bless each other. I wish the next year harvest. But you know what? In fact, there was a saying of 6 grains at the earliest. The 6 grains include rice, broomcorn millet, foxtail millet, sorghum, wheat, and wild rice. The last wild rice is wild rice, which was eaten by nobles before the Qin and Han dynasties because of its extremely low content. Why is the yield low? Because in its natural state, it is easily infected by a fungus, and the base is swollen after infection, and it is no longer fruiting. At that time, people were scarce, and one farmer thought that since he could not eat wild rice, I would try to eat the enlarged base. This test found that not only can eat, but also extremely tender. So people started eating the base of wild rice. Gradually, even people forget that when wild rice was first grown, we actually ate its seeds. Let's see, have you ever eaten wild rice? Good, now it has a new name. It is water bamboo, a common vegetable in markets, commonly known as bamboo shoots. It's just that if the fungus is too parasitic, the quality of the rice stems will be greatly affected. For example, if it's black inside like this, it's no longer edible. Finally, let's look at the beautiful tulips. In Europe in the 10th century, people flocked to tulips with a variety of colors on a petal, called the broken tulip. Legend has it that a tulip like this could have been used for a castle. People at the time did not know that such tulips were actually caused by a virus infection. Now that people understand the principle of broken tulips, they can breed themselves. So we can see such tulips in many places. And it is no longer as rare as it once was. So think about it. The plants in these examples are not growing normally. Should they also be counted as plant diseases? If it's a disease, why don't we treat it instead of breeding the unhealthy plant? Now, can you summarize the definition of plant diseases? In the process of growth and development, storage and transportation of plants, due to the influence of biological infection or inappropriate environmental factors, their normal growth and development are inhibited, physiological mechanisms are interfered with, cells, tissues, and organs are destroyed, resulting in various pathological changes in the physiological or organizational structure of plants, showing various pathologies and even death, thus reduce the output and quality, and cause economic losses. This phenomenon is called a plant disease. Obviously, whether it is called a plant disease does not only depend on whether the plant grows normally, it also depends on whether it causes economic damage. So let's see, what are the types of plant diseases? If the disease is caused by abiotic factors, such as lack of water, nutrient deficiency, and other inappropriate environmental factors, is it contagious? Of course not. We call these diseases non-infectious diseases. Another type of disease is caused by various pathogenic organisms, such as fungi, bacteria, viruses, nematodes, parasitic seed plants, etc. The diseases caused by them are infectious, so we call them infectious diseases. Now let's remember, today's lesson mainly introduces the definition of plant diseases. In plant diseases, according to whether they are contagious, it is divided into infectious diseases and non-infectious diseases. Class, that's all for today's lesson. See you next time.